So I've realized that I make all these videos about mental health, about visualizations, about how the mental side of your being affects everything else. But I've seen now that I haven't shown you how I would go about these issues when it came to working with a client. So to begin this video of the client process, we're going to start with Tadiwa's testimonial. And he's not just a client, he's one of the boys. He's one of the boys. Before I share his testimonial, I just want to say that each client process is going to look different for each client because not everyone's going to come to me wanting the same part of their mental side change. Not everyone's going to come to me looking for clarity or looking to detach their results from their self-worth. Not everyone's going to come looking for the same thing. Therefore, not everyone is going to get the same exact service. But I will guarantee that everyone is going to get the same results, and that is achieving their desired results. You get me?
Hey guys, my name's Tadiwa, and I'm currently playing Academy Rugby in the south of France. And over the last 3 weeks, I've been working with Takura Jakachira on the mental side of my game, and he's been helping me navigate life. Being in France at 20 is not really easy because of the language barrier, and yeah, it's just been helping me navigate relationships and the ability to connect with people, even though you can't, delve into those deeper conversations. And yeah, so the three main things we went over were journaling, meditation, and visualization. And I'm just going to give you a brief skim of what I learned from all those three things after working with him. So I'll start with visualization. Visualization is probably my favorite because, as humans, we visualize things. It's normal. But for me personally, I've always, visualized the bad side of things. Like, what if this goes wrong? What if I knock on a ball? And he's really helped me realize that you need to see both pictures. And once you have both pictures, then you almost feel like you've been in that situation before. So when I was playing Africa Cup earlier this year, I made mistakes, but I'd seen that picture before. So when, like, for example, the crowd comes at me or, people slur, you've kind of seen that picture before. So it doesn't really affect your performance as much, and it doesn't, eat you up as a person because after all, it's just a game. Secondly, journaling. Journaling is something I've always done, but never really too intentional about it. And he just helped me realize that it's a way to decluster my thoughts and, just put my emotions onto paper, so you don't let it boil up in your head. And, because I'm someone who overthinks, so it just helped me decluster my thoughts basically. And I'll finish off with meditation. Meditation is something that I've done over the last 3 weeks in the morning when I woke up, and it's just really helped me, because I focus on God. I read a verse and then I just think about it and try not to let like external things, enter my thoughts, or there'll be cars going by, but I just try focus on that verse. And it's just helped me, align myself with God throughout the day, and yeah, just focus on him and realize that he's the one and almighty, and I should just live for him. And yeah, I'm just grateful as well for Takura, because I've been able to reach out to him at any point in time, and it hasn't felt like a business relationship, but like a brother relationship, which yeah, I salute him for and I thank him.
So, as you can see from his testimonial, he was very happy with the service I provided him. I don't even like saying it's a service because I genuinely just like helping people. So, like, whatever I helped him with, you can see that he's happy with. There were four things that he wanted help with. And if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading from the exact journal page. See, this is the detail I go through. You can see that I'm reading from the exact journal page that I wrote on our first call together. So these were the four things that he wanted help with. First of all, it was emotional detachment from performance. He had this habit of attaching his emotions, how he felt about himself, his mood, his attitude towards his performance. So if he played well, life was good, he was happy. But if he played badly, he felt like he was failing everyone. He felt like just like life wasn't as good because he wasn't performing well in an asset of his life. So he wanted to practice emotional detachment from his performance. The second thing he wanted was releasing the fear of failure and letting people down. For all of these, I'm going to dive deeper into them as to why they were big problems for him and how we took care of those things. So, when it came to the releasing the fear of failure and letting people down, to say it shortly right now, I'll go into deeper depth later on into the video, but he is an academy rugby player, soon to be professional rugby player in France. He's from Zimbabwe. So there's a lot of pressure on him. A lot of people are looking to him like, oh, flip, not many people from Zim go to France to play professional rugby. So it creates this atmosphere of pressure for him. And he was just trying to see how to deal with that and seeking a way so that it didn't affect his performance. The third thing is he wanted to build internal stability amid uncertainty. So connecting to being a Zimbabwean, one of the first people to do it in France, just not knowing how the path is set. So see, for people who go to uni, they do the standard route. Let's say you play rugby in uni or whatever. You go to uni, you go the standard route. There's less uncertainty because you know that this is a path that thousands, maybe even millions of people have walked down. So it's not like I'm doing something new. It's not like I'm inventing the wheel. I'm just doing something that other people have done. And where the uncertainty lies is that it's new for me. But when it comes to the steps that one can take, like it's not uncertain. You know what you're doing. Sorry, I'm just checking if there's something up my nose. I don't know if there was something up my nose, but whatever was up there is gone. So the fourth thing that he wanted help with was to use the people around him, all the players that he had access to. Like that sounds straightforward, but you have to understand language barrier. The two main languages, or let's say three main languages in Zimbabwe, are Shona, Ndebele, and English. Do you know what? Those probably aren't the three main languages, but those are the three main languages that I know. Call me ignorant, whatever. And then obviously the main language in France is French. So there was a clear language barrier. Not many of his teammates had fluent enough English for him to have the depth of conversation that he wanted to have. With all this being said, let me walk through what I helped him with and go more in depth. The first thing was emotional detachment from performance while maintaining drive. The important key phrase here is while maintaining drive. In the world, there are not many people who are moderate in how they go about their performance. See, there are people who, quite frankly, just don't care. Like whether they play well, whether they play badly, they'll be like, I'm getting paid. It doesn't really matter what goes on, right? But Tadiwa wanted to be a part of the camp that had emotional detachment from performance. So they didn't base their self worth. After a bad performance, they start thinking, oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm not a good person. Like, I'm not good enough for anyone because they had a bad performance. He didn't want to be a part of that camp. But he also didn't want to be a part of the camp that doesn't care so much that they actually lose their drive in the sports. So he wanted to have emotional detachment from performance while maintaining drive. With a lot of shifts when it comes to your mental side, the spiritual side, the first thing you have to do is be aware of what you are right now and where you want to get to. He was aware that he wanted to get to a point where he was emotionally detached from his performance, but he still had the same amount of drive, if not more amount of drive. So the first thing I told him to do was he had to reframe success and failure. See what is winning and what is losing. See, when you attach your emotional states to, let's say, your performance in your sports, your performance in your business, you stop distinguishing between what is winning and what is failing. So for you, winning is everything going well, what you can control, what you can't control. And losing is when what you can't control goes wrong, or also what you can control goes wrong. So you can see that this is a game that's weighted unfairly. You can only win this game when everything goes well. And when some things go well, but not all the things that you wanted to go well, you lose. And for some of you who are like listening intently, I mentioned what you can control and what you can't control. See, when it comes to removing your emotional detachment from your performance while maintaining your drive, you have to understand that your emotions a lot of the time are going to be attached to something, whether it's your self identity, whether it's your performance, whether it's your mom, whether it's your girlfriends, your emotions at any point in time are going to be detached to something. So if you are seeking to have this emotional detachment from performance while maintaining the drive, you need to shift your emotional attachment to something else. So what we did was come up with the controllables versus the uncontrollable. So shifting his emotional attachment to the controllable. So back to what I said initially, like reframing success and failure. When he did the things that he could control, when he practiced well, when he hit all his weight sessions during the week, when he stretched after practice, when he went to bed on time. Those were the controllables. That was success to him, not the outcome in a specific game, in a specific moment. Let's say he missed a tackle. Just because he missed a tackle, he wasn't now a failure and now his emotions were out of whack. No, he was a success because he kept on doing the things that he could control throughout the week. And fair enough, there's sometimes where you fail at the things that you can control. But by and large, focusing on the controllables rather than focusing on the uncontrollables helped him massively when it came to reducing his emotional attachments to his performance while still maintaining his drive. A lot of the time, when we are emotionally attached to the thing that we value the most, let's say it's our business, let's say for some of you it's your sport that you're playing, let's say rugby in this case, it's because you find your identity, you find your best qualities in that sport, in that realm of life. So if Tadiwa, to increase his emotional detachment from his performance, we had to list the qualities that made him outside of rugby. See, Tadiwa was someone before he played rugby, and he's going to be someone after he retires from his professional rugby career. You, as you're watching, you are more than your business. You are someone before you started the business. You will be someone after you hand down the reins to your son because he's taking over and you're building generational wealth. You were someone before and you're going to be someone after. So you need to find the qualities that make you outside of rugby. Rugby was Tadiwa's case, outside of whatever it is you're doing. So with Tadiwa, that is what we did. We found the qualities that made him outside of rugby. What did he find his identity in? For him, it was his faith in God. It was how he treated other people, how he treated himself, how he went about his business. He found his qualities, he found his identity in the way he operated, not in the results that he achieved, but in the way that he operated, in his input. This point was very good for him achieving that emotional detachment from performance. And the last thing we did on this point was to write a letter to his younger self. He had gone through life being emotionally attached to his sport, his performance. And after all that time, it had built up a lot of internal things. So what I asked him to do, I actually don't know if he wrote this letter, but what I asked him to do was to write a letter to his younger self and just talk through the things that made him have this emotional attachment to his sport and give him a mature response. To not tell him that it was the end of the world because he messed up in this rugby game. To not tell him that he'd be useless if he wasn't good at rugby, but rather to tell him that he's someone outside of rugby. He's someone, even if things don't go well that day, it doesn't make him less than. If things go well, it doesn't make him more than. It's just simply things going well. It's like a game. And a lot of things in this life are games. Let's say your business, or you lose 100K, like, it doesn't make you less than. Yes, it's unfortunate for you, but like, it doesn't make you less than. The second thing that he needed help with was releasing the fear of failure and letting people down. So I'm just going to give you a backstory about Tadiwa's journey in rugby. So from whatever nursery school up until the first year of high school, he did school in Zimbabwe. He actually went to St. George's. I went to St. John's, right, for high school. We are the arch nemesis, like our rival, St. John's rival, St. George's, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is, he went to St. George's in Form 1. He then got a scholarship to go to a rugby school in South Africa. Imagine he was at this high school in South Africa on a rugby scholarship. So his place at that school depended on how well he played rugby throughout the years. So imagine throughout all those years, the amount of emotional weight, amount of just mental weight that was being placed on his ability to play rugby. So that was the first thing. The second thing now was 5 years down the line after he had finished high school and performed well, he got an offer to play professional rugby in France. So now, again, because of his rugby ability, he is now living in a new opportunity, living in France, in a place that is foreign to him. And subconsciously, you will begin to think that rugby, I need to make sure. And to a certain degree, that is true. But now all of this had manifested into a fear of failure and letting people down, right? So the fear of failure was just failing, like, just didn't do well after all of this. I'm in France and, oh, flip. I don't do well. And letting people down was just that people were looking up to, right? They had seen his journey, seen all he had been through from where he started to where he is now. It's important to note that as we started this coaching package, he was meant to come to Zim. I don't know why I said meant. He was coming to Zim 2 weeks later to compete in the Africa Cup for international rugby. He was playing for the Zimbabwe team. And this was the first time that he was going to play in front of his parents in a very long time. So he was scared of just coming to Zim and feeling like if he performed bad, he would have let people down because they would have been expecting more from someone who was in France. Yeah, so that was a fear. That was the second point that he wanted help with. So for many of you who are going to come to me for my services, pause, right? You may have fears, you may have these insecurities. And we tend to overestimate how bad these fears will be, right? If they actually play out, we tend to overestimate how bad we will feel, how badly other people will react. So a lot of the time, our fears, they come from a lack of thought. I know that sounds stupid because you overthink about your fears a lot of the time, but you don't truly think about them in a logical, rational manner. So what I had him do was to do a worst case scenario visualization. And this is what I'm going to get many of you to do during your process if it will help you get to your desired result. For him, the worst case scenario would be a bad game. Not only a bad game, but a game where he was the worst player on the pitch, where he felt like he let his teammates down, where he felt like he let his parents down, right? The reason I had him do this visualization is because I wanted him to see that if these things happened, he wasn't going to die. See, our minds are stupid, right? When I think about the worst case, when I think about the things I'm most scared of, the fears I have, sometimes when I get lost in these fears, I'll be thinking, Ish, what if this happens? What if this happens? I won't explicitly say it, but deep down, I feel like I'm going to die if that thing happens to me. I know it sounds stupid. I know that if whatever I'm scared of happening happens, I'll be fine. I may hurt for a bit, it may be an unpleasant experience, but I'll be fine. But for some reason, somewhere in my head, there's this there's this feeling. It's not a thought. It's not even said, but there's this feeling that you're going to die. You're going to cease to exist and your life will be over if this happens. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I don't know. I don't know. That's just how my brain works, and that's clearly how many people who I've talked to about this. That's how their brains work. So the reason I had him do a worst case scenario visualization was to see that even if his worst fear happened, he wouldn't die. Yes, supporters may cuss him. Yes, he will knock on the ball when the team was about to score the winning try. Yes, he'll miss a tackle. Oh, then this team he concedes a last minute winner, and now they lost the cup in the final, whatever. All those terrible things you can think about, they happened. Yes, he visualized them. They happened in his mind. But then through that visualization, he saw that it's not the end of the world. I messed up. Ish, I played badly. Worst player on the field. The supporters were shouting at me, and still, it wasn't the end of the world. So the second goal of these worst case scenario visualizations was for him to rehearse how we would respond to these setbacks, how we would respond in a way that didn't foster this fear, in a way that didn't foster a feeling of being less than, but rather fostered strength, growth, improvement. So he did that, and funnily enough, I always think that the things we think about often, the things we visualize often, like they end up happening. And this wasn't planned, but it actually happened. He had one game where he didn't play too well. I actually didn't watch the game. I watched the other two, but this one game I didn't watch. He said that he could have won the game, and the supporters got on his back. And imagine his own supporters, his fellow countrymen were cussing him, saying, "Ah, you were fun away." And he was playing for their team, for the country. He experienced that, and of course, things didn't go his way because the fact that he was experiencing something that might have been in his worst case scenario visualization shows that things weren't going well in terms of the rugby game. But he bounced back from it. I talked to him about it, he learned lessons, and it's truly made him a better person and actually a better rugby player. I don't want to make it seem like I'm preparing people for the worst, so I will say that up until that game, his words, not mine, he had been playing his best rugby up until that point. In fact, I'm gonna get the message from him and put a screenshot there so that you guys believe me. I don't want you guys to think that I'm lying to you for the sake of me wanting you to buy my services. So through this process of visualizing the worst case scenario and seeing how you'd respond from it, he truly saw that there was no need to fear failure because number one, you wouldn't die. Number two, you would know how to respond. Number three, if you let people down, you let people down. But it comes with the sports, it comes with everything we do in life. The third thing that he wanted to help with was building internal stability amid uncertainty. So, like I said in the very beginning of the video, that he was a Zimbabwean going down a road not taken, right? Not many Zimbabweans had gone to France, started playing professional rugby from academy level, Now to going into the professional team. So it was a path that had a lot of uncertainty. He didn't know what a successful path looked like, a successful career looks like. What he wanted was help to be comfortable with the uncertainty. When we are uncomfortable with uncertainty, essentially what we're just looking for is some stability. See, as human beings, we crave stability in all the things we do. We like things that are predictable. We like doing things that we know, okay, this is going to happen, right? So, this is why you see people staying in terrible relationships, terrible situations. Why? Because they're certain. As dark as it sounds, like I know it sounds like including a bit of satire, but I'm not. Like, people stay in abusive relationships, terrible situations. They keep their lives in a mediocre state even when they want to improve because that type of life provides certainty. They're comfortable. They know what's going. Human beings, we don't like uncertainty. We like to know exactly what's going on and when it's going to happen. So with Tadiwa's path, he was going down a road not taken. He didn't know what was going to come. Like, does he know what's going to be going on in 3 years? Who knows? And that's the truth for all of us. In these situations where we are seeking certainty, we are seeking internal stability amid uncertainty, you have to find that stability in something, and that stability has to be you. You have to be the stability amidst an uncertain world. So for him, it was finding his root core values that he identified himself with. Similar to what I asked him to do when it came to developing this emotional detachment from performance, right? So he had to find his root core values. He had to find what is your aim beyond rugby? What legacy do you want to live? He needs to shift his focus from the short term to the long term. By doing that, the present holds less weight. But let me talk about the first thing, root core values. Values don't change. Whether you're broke, whether you're performing, whether you're injured, honesty is honesty, integrity is integrity. Your belief in God is your belief in God. Yes, in different situations, those values are dynamic and they're shown in different ways, but at their root, they're the same thing in all situations. So you had to find his core values, integrity, whatever. I'm not going to tell you his core values because you'll find out. Like if you get the pleasure of talking to him, but he found his core values. Secondly, I had him think like, what is your aim beyond rugby? What type of legacy do you want to leave? Not just a legacy of he was a good rugby player, but what type of person was he? Because see, you don't have to do excellently on the rugby field to leave a legacy. A lot of the time, your legacy comes from what you have done off the field. Your legacy has come from what you have done out of the business room, the boardroom, by the type of person you were and how you affected the people around you. I had them just really think about the type of legacy you wanted to leave and the type of person you wanted to be. Not the rugby player you wanted to be, but the type of person you wanted to be. And naturally, that would affect the type of rugby player he is because all things that we do are connected. So I've left this up until last because I didn't want to give you at the beginning. I'm joking, but I realize that the people who watch this video up until the end will be able to see how this one thing connected to everything. The one thing that helped with all these 3 points that he wanted to help with was mindfulness. Because, like I said, being aware is the first step of anything, right? So, with cultivating mindfulness, he was able to see what was going on in his mind, what he was feeling, and what he felt urged to do. So, as he built his mindfulness, he was able to detach from what was going on inside of him. Because I don't think many people realize this, but we are consciousness. Like you're not your mind because you can observe your mind. Like you experience what's going on in your mind. You're not your body again because like you control it. You are consciousness, and your consciousness is access to your mind, to your body, to your taste, whatever. So you have to be mindful of what is going on inside, and when you're mindful of what's going on inside of you, you can then choose how to react. You can then choose that, you know what, I don't want this belief, I'm going to rewire it and think something different, like simply like that. Like people struggle with changing their beliefs, like just decide you're going to change it. To cultivate mindfulness, I had them do meditation, which is just focusing on one thing for an extended period of time and only focusing on that. But yeah, that's all we had him do. Those are the 3 things, 3 simple things. And a lot of the time it's very simple. Like what I do, I'm giving you all the information in my videos. How I do it when we do our one-on-one coaching is I'll just tailor make it for you in a way that you don't really have to think. Just do what I say and you're gonna get the end result. The last thing that I helped him with was how to connect and use the people around him. See, he was already doing this. So this was the things that he said he needed help with, but he was already doing it by doing Bible studies, by praying with some of his teammates. So that's why, yeah, I wasn't gonna talk to you about that because he ended up doing it, and I didn't really help him with that. But this was quite a process. The bulk of this work took 3 weeks. With most of the programs I do, it's about 3 to 5 weeks. That's where you're going to see the most amount of growth. And after the first 3 weeks, we have just been consolidating and making sure that he's built a foundation of all the things that have helped him see. See, I'm not teaching anything. I help my clients see things in a different light. That is the first client video breakdown, whatever you call this. And as always, if you're interested in the same service, click the second link in the description. It will take you to a calendar page where you can book a call to discuss how we're going to go forward with your coaching package. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you gained value from me talking about how I helped Tadiwa achieve his mental goals. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys.